I want you to let this sink in for just a second. A brand new $2 million home in Metro Atlanta just made the news because it needs $1.6 million in repairs. It's not a remodel. This isn't deferred maintenance. These are repairs. And the scariest part, this wasn't an abandoned property. This was new construction, signed off by the county and actually closed. Today, I'm going to explain how this happens, and more importantly, how I protect my clients from ever ending up in this situation, because price and Instagram aesthetics do not equal quality construction. I'm Ken Harper with the Crosspoint team. I specialize in new construction, and I've worked directly with builders, architects, and inspectors for decades. If you're building or buying a high-end custom home in Metro Atlanta, there's one truth that you need to hear right up front. It's not enough to have a high-producing agent represent you. You need an agent who understands the construction process or who has proven experience working with your specific builder. This is where people get it wrong. A lot of buyers assume that if an agent sells a lot of homes, they're qualified to represent them on a custom multi-million-dollar build, but that's just not how it works. High-end construction introduces a level of complexity that most agents never deal with. Engineering, grading, framing tolerances, and the scheduling sequence of new construction. If your agent doesn't understand construction or hasn't successfully guided clients through that process with a builder, you're exposed from day one. Your agent's experience with a builder should be a starting point, not the whole picture. There are multiple ways to properly qualify your builder, and this part is non-negotiable. You wouldn't hire an employee without checking references, and you should never hire a builder for a $2 million home without doing real due diligence. You need to go beyond the website and fancy photos. Start by driving through communities they've built years ago. How do these homes look over time? Does the neighborhood still look affluent and well-maintained, or do you see signs of premature wear and repair? Stop and talk to homeowners. Ask about their full experience, construction, communication, and warranty support. Some builders do a better job of communicating with clients. Others are more comfortable just dealing with subcontractors. So make sure someone from the builder's team is accessible to these folks. You aren't looking for perfection. You're looking for red flags, structural issues, or chronic issues that have not been addressed. Overall satisfaction with the home. And here's the key. We're not talking testimonials, and we're not doing online reviews here. We're talking about real people, actually homeowners who've lived through the process. If something comes up, be prepared to discuss it with the builder's team. If a builder can't provide acceptable level of transparency and accountability at this stage, you need to walk away. Moving on to construction, there are a couple of critical components to every home. The first is grading and foundation work. There's always some grading on site, and that's normal. The real risk shows up when there is significant fill dirt beneath the foundation. So ask questions about the site work before you begin. If there will be significant fill dirt under the foundation, two things should happen. The builder's team should be able to clearly explain the process and how they will ensure against settlement in the foundation. Secondly, the foundation should be independently inspected before concrete is poured. If neither of these happen, you're building risk directly under the home. And remember, pretty finishes won't save a bad base. The second major component is the framing. And here's a reality buyers need to understand. The more custom the home, the more risk you're taking on. Most builders will refine their plans by building them multiple times, but with a true custom or one-off design, you don't want to be the test case. Design changes may look great on paper, but framing is where mistakes get locked in. You should see evidence of framing corrections during the mechanical phase after the framing is complete. I personally get really nervous when I walk through a home under construction and don't see bright fluorescent paint sprayed on the framing somewhere in the home. Either those subs are perfect or that builder's not checking the framing for mistakes. In the case of a multi-million-dollar build, you should consider having a structural engineer inspect the framing. That can add a smart layer of protection. Once drywall goes up, every single mistake will be visible, from bowed walls to misaligned openings. But those major structural mistakes, they may not show up until a few months after closing. This next part surprises a lot of buyers. Residential home inspectors are typically generalists. They're trained to spot obvious issues and flag potential problems, not to engineer solutions. That's why most inspection reports will recommend further evaluation by certified specialists. So think of a home inspector more as an alarm system and not as a specialist. On high-end homes, one inspection is often not enough. We can be bringing in structural engineers, mechanical specialists, or trade-specific experts when the stakes justify it. Another common mistake is thinking that inspections only matter at the end of the process. There's actually 3 critical times where qualified eyes can make a big difference. The foundation stage before concrete is poured, after framing is complete and before the drywall goes in, and before the final walkthrough with your builder. These problems that are caught early are much more manageable. Problems that are not caught until completion are sometimes catastrophic and sometimes even unfixable. One final note about inspections. Not every item on the list warrants attention from the builder. Many times we see inspections that cite a manufacturer's recommended instruction or a general code requirement. Often these can be overruled by specific requirements of the city or county where the home is being built. Every builder should, however, be able to discuss any items on an inspection report with you and have a valid reason for not addressing any specific item. Here's a dangerous assumption that I hear all the time. Well, the city or county inspected it, so it must be fine. In many cases, these municipalities allow private engineers hired by the builder to certify stages of construction. That means the home meets minimum code, and that's not necessarily quality construction. Minimum code is not the same thing as good building. In the case of the $2 million home that made the headlines, inspection records noted multiple code deficiencies with no clear evidence they were ever corrected before final sign-off. That home passed inspection until it didn't. Independent verification still matters. Now let me be clear, this is not every situation. About 99% of homes are built sufficiently, but the more expensive and custom that home, the greater the risk to you if the right protections are not in place. So here's the 4 pillars of protection that I use to protect my clients. An experienced, construction knowledgeable agent. Proven experience with that builder, backed by real client references. Inspections at critical stages of construction. And clear communication from the builder's team about the building process and the steps to address issues as they arise. If you're building or buying a luxury home in Metro Atlanta and want to make sure you're protected before problems get locked in, go ahead and reach out. I'm happy to walk through the process and help you avoid becoming the next headline. And finally, if you've got a horror story you've heard, go ahead and mention it in the comments. Maybe I'll have a video to address that issue and tell you how we can avoid those issues in the future.